Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of Provo City School District's What's Up with the Soup podcast. I'm Superintendent Wendy Dow, and in this episode, I'm handing the microphone over to Judy Rose, our Elementary Director of Teaching and Learning. Judy sat down with a group of amazing sixth grade teachers from Timpanogos Elementary to talk about their professional learning communities, what we like to call PLCs, and the incredible success they're having. You'll hear how these teachers are working together, sharing strategies, and using data to improve student learning in powerful ways. And don't forget to watch my weekly video cast. You'll get it right in your inbox, and you can always find it on our district website. It's a quick and easy way to stay up to date on the latest news from across the district. And now, Judy will take it away from here.
Hi, everyone. I am Judy Rose, the Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning, and the superintendent has allowed me to take over the soundstage, and I'm so thrilled because I get to spend some time with the amazing sixth grade team from Timpanogos. So welcome, ladies. I am so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we dive in, let's take a minute to recognize why we're here. Your team was recognized as an outlier in a recent statewide study on sixth grade math, which means you really stood out for the growth that your students achieved. So congratulations for that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Let's start with introductions. Can each of you share your name and a little bit about your teaching experience and how long you've been teaching sixth grade at Timpanogos?
Okay, I'll start. My name is Paris Spellback, and this is my 4th year of 6th grade, but my 6th year overall, so.
I'm Tiffany Harris, and I have been at Timpanogos Elementary for 28 years now. 26 of those have been with sixth grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm Cassidy Chadwick, and I have been at Timpanogos for 7 years. 6 of those have been in 6th grade.
And I'm Sarah Jensen. I've been at Timpanogos for 4 years, 2 of them in 6th grade. I teach the Spanish side of DLI.
So I'm talking to the math team. I feel like I should have been doing the math while you were talking about your years of experience. Cumulatively, that's a lot of experience in teaching sixth grade. When you were interviewed by the team that was conducting the study of math teams, one thing that really struck me were some of the challenges that your students face. Can you talk a bit about that, about what it's like teaching at Timpanogos, what your students are like, and maybe a little bit of the challenges that you see?
Yeah, I think that our school has a lot of challenges. One huge one is attendance issues. For my class this year, I've only had 9 school days where my entire class has been there.
9 school days.
9 days this whole year, yeah. I have kids with 60 absences, 56 absences, not to mention their tardies. So that's very difficult because they don't come every day. So that's one issue.
Another huge thing about Timpanogos is we have a lot of new to the country students, and being the English sided dual, it's like a tough struggle to get these kids to progress not only in English, but also in math and also in science. And I'm just really grateful for our whole team, but also my DLI partner, Sarah, who pushes them and has those expectations in Spanish class so that then they kind of transfer over to the English side. But I think all 4 of us definitely feel the new to the country or heavily Spanish-speaking clientele that we have.
I think another challenge that our students face is a lot of socioeconomic challenges. I know that each one of us have a lot of snacks in our classroom, and we've actually had, like, Tiffany's friend donated some snacks specifically for the 6th graders this year. And so just making sure they have their basic needs met, like their tummies are full, they slept, they're happy, those are some really big challenges.
I think in addition with the students who are new to the country, oftentimes they have skipped entire grades when they get placed in our schools, or they've missed entire concepts. And so there's a lot of holes and a lot of just like foundational things that we are having to fill, along with adding 6th grade curriculum.
We also have our kids move in and move out constantly. So the group we started with at the beginning of the year is different by the middle of the year, and then totally different by the end of the year too. So it's not the same students, and a lot of them also have a lot of difficult things they're dealing with personally too, that are things kids shouldn't have to deal with. So they have a lot going on.
That feels like an overwhelming list of challenges that your students are facing and that you're facing as teachers. How do you enter into the school year and proceed through your year and maintain a belief in what these students can do? Do you have a belief in what they do? How do you maintain that? How do you do that?
I think that focusing on the idea of growth is very helpful because
Mhm.
the reality is a lot of our students are not going to reach proficiency on the RISE test. When that score pops up at the end, a lot of the times it's a 1 or a 2. But you compare to what they did the year prior, and they have made so much growth.
Mhm.
And that is so exciting to all of us. And we hype the kids up. It's like, I don't necessarily expect there to be a 4 on your screen when it comes up at the end. But this is what you got last year. And I know you can do better than that because you have worked so hard this year. And so I think just focusing on the mindset of growth and like helping them improve from where they were when they started with us in August to where they end in May is exciting because it can be very hard to be like, 3 of my kids passed the RISE test, and that is the reality for us every year. We have 3 to maybe 7 of our 25 kids that end up being proficient, but almost 100% of them make growth. And so that's what we like to focus on and celebrate.
So really focusing on and celebrating growth is
Mhm.
really...
And they know that too, like going over where they're at and having them set goals for, okay, you're at a 1, right? We're not going to most likely jump up to a 4, but what is your goal? What do you want to get to this year? And like, they're like, gosh, if I can get to a 2, that's great. So just focusing on like slow little baby steps,
Or
to-
even a higher one.
or higher. Yeah.
Like, as long as you made some growth, we are beyond excited for
And
that.
that's something to really
Yeah,
celebrate.
yeah.
absolutely. So that's what we all focus on.
Mhm.
One thing that is always clear when I talk with the 4 of you, even when you walked in the door, is what a cohesive team you are. How well you work together, how well you get along together, how much you like each other. It's just really, really clear. I know that doesn't just happen. So what is it about this team, how you form those relationships, how you've really come together as such a cohesive team? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think we could start our own comedy tour.
That's what this podcast is about to get going.
Personally, for me, I appreciate their willingness just to share ideas and strategies. And like I said, like, even though me and Sarah are teaching the dual kids, a lot of our kids, like, it's not that only high kids are in dual at Timpanogos. We have a good mix of just regular classes. They just happen to spend half their day in Spanish. And so the fact that we can all relate because our kids are going through some of the same things, they had the same holes. And then I think just allowing each other to the space in our PLCs or even just in the hallway to be like, I did this today and it was awesome, or I did this today and it was terrible.
horrible.
Don't think about it. Don't do it. I suggested it. Never did. And I just appreciate their openness,
Yeah.
really.
I think too, just having the mindset of like nobody's in charge. We're all make decisions equally. Yes, there's like a team lead, but that is just to relay information back and forth. But everything's just talked about and decided all together. Like nobody out rules somebody else,
Well, Tiffany, I'm especially impressed to hear you say that. You've been teaching for 28 years.
Yeah.
I think it would be really natural for you to maybe step into that leadership role. And it sounds like the 4 of you really consider each other very equal, collaborative partners.
Yeah. I think that I have been teaching for 28 years, so their new ideas are awesome, like things that I wouldn't think of. So they bring just as much to the table as maybe my experience, and the more we bounce ideas off each other and work together, the greater we seem to do.
And it sounds like you've all created a really safe space, not only for your successes, but for your failures.
Oh, yeah.
And it's okay when things don't go well. You talk about it and figure out what to do
That's
next.
for sure. During prep time the other day, I was working through a math problem and I could not figure it out. And I just immediately walked in Tiff's room and I'm like, okay, I don't get it. She immediately stopped what she was doing and sat down with me and helped me figure it out. She was in the middle of something, but automatically stopped and helped, and we worked together and figured it out. So
A totally safe space to not
Yep.
understand and go figure it out together.
Yep.
Something else that came up in the study, and I know this can be really hard, is the way you use data. It sounds like you are so open about using your data, not just looking at numbers, but you also really use it to figure out what kids need and how to move them forward. Can you help us understand your process in all of that? It's really impressive what you do with data.
Back when our school was in school improvement, years and years and years and years ago, that's when we first started doing interventions, and we had no idea what we were doing. and trying to just figure out what works best for the kids. And what we started doing, we weren't seeing any improvement with. And a bunch of us on the team at the time basically decided that instead of trying to like go over what we're already doing in class, it was most important to fill those gaps, get those fundamental, skills down and fill the gaps. So we changed our interventions at the time to not have anything to do with what we were teaching in class, but to go from the very basic. They need to be able to do place values first. And then next was like adding a place value with decimals, and then just basic adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing. And so filling in all of those gaps. And also we, at that time, like took our math tests and our lessons and we did them all together. We thought, what shows mastery? We went over that, and then we worked together to change the math test so that we felt like it was equitable for all of them and very challenging. We didn't want to take away the challenge from them, but that we were all on the same page, how we grade them, everything the same. And so then, since we were doing it all the same, we started putting our scores down, and we share them all. Like, we'll put our scores down, we talk about it, we can all see them. We'll be like, okay, your kids killed it. Like, how did they do so well? What did you do on this? Like, how did they do so well? But really, I think that's how it started. We just started putting all our data down and seeing like if it was making a difference, and it seemed like it was. So we kept going with that.
So I'd like to go back to one of the first things that you said. It sounds like your initial task was to identify what are the key pieces of learning they need to have in
Yes.
order to be successful as sixth graders.
Yes.
So you identified those, and I'm assuming you did that as a team
Mhm.
and looked back in fifth grade, fourth grade, third grade. What are these progressive skills that they need?
Yes.
And then I imagine you have a way of assessing each of those, and then you
Yeah.
track that data. Is that
Yeah. After we decided what those different skills were that we needed, then we spent our entire lives for a year. We made quizzes. We broke them up. We broke them up into like each person had their skills that they were in charge of, and we made 4 quizzes, 4 versions of like a place value quiz, 4 versions of adding and subtracting. And the first quiz for 1 week, everybody takes them, and we all put in our intervention scores, and that helps us know what intervention they need for the next week. After 2 weeks of being in the intervention, then they take another test, like version 2 of it, and they need to get 80% or higher on it. And they're like 5 questions, 5 to what's the most, maybe 7?
7.
Yeah. So they have to get 80% or higher. And if so, then they take the next quiz. And so they don't go to every intervention class. Some kids skip the first like 7 because they don't need those skills. Some kids need the first one, and then they pass the next 3 like boom, boom, boom. So they don't actually have to go to that intervention class. So they're just going to the ones they need. And then we make the intervention groups from that data.
But very driven by formative
Mhm.
assessment, because if they were in that intervention for 2 weeks, take the quiz at the end and don't pass, you're going back in that intervention group for another 2 weeks. Like, we're not just going to move you on because you clearly haven't mastered that skill. And it's a foundational skill that you need in order to be successful with 6th grade math curriculum.
So you've selected skills that are so important that students really can't move past until
Right.
they
Yep.
master
Yeah.
each and every
Because
skill.
they're not adding and subtracting, or they don't know their basic multiplication facts. Doing 6th grade math is not going to happen.
Among the challenges that you've listed, we didn't talk too much about the fact that you are a DLI school. So identifying your foundational skills and doing your assessments and tracking and your interventions, are your DLI classes as integrated into all of this work as your non-DLI classes?
We're the only school in the district that doesn't follow the state model. So our DLI is very different from all the other schools. Ours is a 2-way DLI. We have so many.
Can you
maybe the-
explain what that means?
Yeah. So most schools, like if we were following the state model, the kids would be coming in, they are learning Spanish at the school. So they speak English, learning Spanish. At our school, we have just as many students learning English as we do learning Spanish. So it's going both ways at our school.
So your goal at Timpanogos is to teach students Spanish and to teach
Yeah.
them
Them
English.
English,
So you
yes.
kind of call it a two-way
Yes.
design, two-way model.
And so, yes, they do, like our dual classes, do the interventions with us.
We do it all the same. For the most part, the intervention quizzes are all in English, but they are translatable through the website, which is really handy dandy. And most of the intervention classes are also taught in English, except for the times that I get lucky and I get to teach them in Spanish.
I think that kind of goes back to one of the questions you asked was how are we so cohesive? And we really don't view as dual versus English only. We are all a team and all of the kids are our responsibility. Like we really take responsibility for all 86 graders.
And I think too, not just between dual and English only, but we like our classes mix so often that it's not competitive. Like my scores are going to be better than your scores. To us, it's like, oh, we're the sixth grade. Her students, when I'm teaching, just as important as my students. And I have to be able to trust them that when they're with them, that they're teaching them at a high level that I would want them taught at. And it's nice to know when they're going into other classes to be taught that they're being taught at a level that I would want them taught in my own class.
I think that's another real key in the way the four of you work so well together is you really have a trust that the instruction your students are getting is high quality instruction, no matter which of you is delivering it.
And with our interventions too, like we don't each teach the same thing every time. Like this group of kids, these ones didn't pass. Okay, you're teaching it this time. Let's see if they get better with you. We rotate who's teaching things so that they get different, because some kids learn better with different personalities or different instruction. And so they're always being rotated between all of us.
Well, one thing I was going to ask is how do you make sure that looking at data and tracking data isn't just another thing to check off your to-do list, but clearly that data drives everything you do?
I think since our school focuses on growth, we already put in some RISE data in here. And I was looking at Cassie's because Cassie had hers in before mine. And I was like so excited for her kids. So honestly, viewing the sixth grade as all our students, I don't have 25 students, or since I'm the DLI teacher, I don't have 40 students. I got 80 students. And so I'm excited to see their progress every time I look at the data sheet.
I think we're all on the same page, not just with like our teaching, but also sixth grade is sixth grade behavior, consequences, like rules, expectations. Like if they go into somebody else's class, it's the same as in my class.
I think too, we don't feel competition with each other or like prideful, because I mean, if Paris like reprimands one of my students, I'm like, yeah, knock it off. I don't feel like, Paris, like that's my student, let me deal with it, So I feel like we feel very even playing field on a lot of different aspects.
One of the things that you touched on a little bit before, you were talking about setting growth goals for your students, and it sounds like your students are involved in that. Can you speak to how students are involved in setting and achieving their goals?
From my experience in just teaching in general, I think it's really important that kids know where they're at. We are not going to sugarcoat it for them. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for them, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it for their parents either during parent-teacher conferences. But at the same time, we are positive with them and encouraging with them. And it's like, hey, this is where you're at. This is where I want you to be at the end of the year. And like I said, that's not always proficient. It's I want to see growth, and how are we going to get there? So for me, I like to set the growth goal, but have the students help me identify, okay, I need to do A, B, and C in order to get to that growth goal. So they are more responsible and feel like a sense of responsibility for how they are going to get from where they came to me to where I expect them to be at, and hope for them to be at the end of the year.
So we even have like planners that we have it made at the beginning of the year, and inside is like all their data. They keep track of it. They take a math test, they put their data in, we do a test correction, they put what their goal is for the retake.
So the students actually put their scores in, they track their data.
Yeah. And then they keep track of it. But I think another important thing is like my students all know, like we talk about all the time, like we all learn differently. We're all at different levels. So what your goal is going to be different than somebody else's, right? Maybe somebody's goal is a 4. Somebody else's might be a 2. That's fine. Somebody else's might be a 1, but a higher one than where they started. And really like getting them to encourage each other. They don't need to know what the other people's goals are. That's not their business, but just encouraging them on also to make their goals.
It sounds like the same trust that you have created between the four of you have created in your classrooms and in your whole sixth grade.
Try to.
Yeah. I would say also the way that we talk to our students. Even if you're the lowest of the low, I still got an expectation that you're going to make some progress. And I even told my students before we started the RISE, I expect you to do well. I expect you to write down your work and show what you know, because I can't read your brain. The test can't read your brain. And it's a one shot. Like Cassie said, being honest to the parents, but also being honest in the expectation right in the moment about whatever we're doing. Because I believe in all of them. And I know all 4 of us believe in all of our kids. And sometimes they just need to be reminded that somebody is rooting for them with the expectation that they do well.
Somebody's on their side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I could talk to the 4 of you all day. Is there anything about being a collaborative team or the work that you've done to really foster this growth in your students that we haven't talked about, that I haven't thought to ask, that you'd like to share?
The more we get along and the better friends we become. I mean, we're all very different backgrounds and situations and everything, but at school, like, we're all the same, you know? We're in the same situation. We're in the grind, like, from the time we get there to the time we leave, even after school and stuff, like sending memes or, you know, this or that. And just like, I think too, like, if you just making sure we're good helps everything. Yeah.
And you're very intentional about it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think too, high expectations across the board between us and for all of our students. It's not, oh, you have an IEP, so I'm going to let you off the hook. It's like, no, I'm going to accommodate for you and differentiate for you, but I still have an expectation that you're going to do the best that you can, and I'm going to push you to do the best that you can.
Well, I can't thank the 4 of you enough for coming and talking with me. This has been delightful and so informative. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of What's Up with the Soup. As always, all episodes will be posted on the district website, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Don't forget to join us again next week when we are back with an all-new episode of What's Up with the Soup. Have a great week, everyone.